G'day viewers, hope you've got a cuppa. Because it's time for the Train Sim World 3 April Roadmap. We're going to skip over the TLDR version, have a look at a bit of the April update. So there's a bunch of new entries and there's a bunch of other things that we know about from releases and the like. Let's get into the details, shall we? Alright, just quick voice check, looks good. The roadmap. And breathe. After a busy March schedule, April is here, and with it comes fooling, frolics and fun. And trains, obviously. We have 3 new items for you in this month's roadmap, in the worst kept secret since, well, Train Sim World 3, sorry JD. The Class 700/0 has made its way into proceedings. While it's a little while off releasing at this point, we have your first opportunity to some screenshots of what we know is a highly anticipated electric multiple unit addition to Train Sim World 3. We've also just added, like that, Just Train's first Train Sim World route to the roadmap as a UK route. Again, this is a while off launching at this point, but the team are making good progress and we have a short update for you in the partner program section. We, as in DTG, are also working on a new UK route, of which there will be more information in future roadmaps. It's going to be a rich time for the UK. In case you missed it last week, we announced Midland Main Line, developed by Skyhooks Games, will now be releasing in April. It's April. You can check out the latest news with some new screenshots in our upcoming content section. And in more UK Railfan news, we've also got some more details on our next Steam route, Peak Forest, again in our upcoming content section. Combine that with Patch Notes update, as well as a cheeky feature on how we select our routes within Train Sim World 3, a question we get asked all the time, and the news that Tram Sim Console, developed by our friends at View App, is now available to pre-order on PlayStation before release on April 25th. Xbox Series S and Xbox Series X pre-order will be available a little later down the line, and it's another busy month in the world of TSW. I run Tram Sim on PC. I quite like... Which route is it? Munich. I quite like the Munich route. Not so much of a fan of the Berlin route, but the Munich one's quite good. Graphics are amazing. Doors suck, but you know, you'll learn that. For those who celebrate, Happy Easter, Ramadan, Mubarak, Chag, Pesach, Samich, and Happy Reading. The holiday things. Note, due to staff holidays, we will not be doing a live stream with today's roadmap, but have opened up an April roadmap Q&A forum thread for you to ask a question, read on and fire away. I will try and remember to put a link into that. I know I often say that and I often forget. I'll try and remember. Here, let me do this. Right click, copy. Okay, now I've at least got it. Midland Main Line, Leicester to Nottingham and Derby. Coming later this April, Midland Main Line is something we know loads of you are excited for. By way of introduction, we asked Jane Whittaker, CTO of Skyhook Games and avid railfan, for their view of the route. If you haven't already, check out last month's roadmap, link there, for some more details on how Skyhook have developed the route. Very shortly after we started to work on Midland Main Line, we realised that we were creating something special. This is not just another route for Train Sim World 3. In our hands was a responsibility to deliver an iconic route dear to the heart of many rail fans, taking in Nottingham, Derby and Leicester. Add to that equally iconic 158 DMU and the VP 185 powered HST. So this is the Midland Main Line route map with Eastcroft Depot at Nottingham up in the top right hand side, Derby in the top left hand side, the junction station, or nearest to it anyway, is Long Eaton, and then there's number 8 East Midlands Parkway. I suppose you could call that a junction station too, it's pretty close to the junction, and right down the far end is Leicester. One thing we did not wish to do was rush this awesome opportunity, but to create a route and locomotives that will, we hope, become a firm favourite with fans. With that in mind, and with full support of our friends at Dovetail, we have gone the extra mile with quality and prototypical realism. Thousands of man-hours have been spent by our talented art team to create the route and surrounding environments in a way that we hope does justice to its real-world counterpart, within the limitations of home simulation. Utilising new optimization techniques, we have striven hard to create a sense of immersion and familiarity to those of us who have regularly travelled this route. We want you to be there with hundreds of handcrafted buildings, landmarks and interesting things to spot in the landscape. Supporting this, we know there's been a huge interest in the 158 DMU. We share the excitement of the community, so this DMU has been built from the ground up. In terms of visual model, systems and performance, great effort has been made in consultation with real Class 158 drivers and engineering technicians to have the 158 drivers close as possible to the real thing. Yes, we spent weeks ensuring braking was accurate to a well-worn Class 158. Acceleration and a range of parameters are as prototypical as we can get them, not forgetting a unique sound set which brings this 158 to life. Thank you to all our resident experts and beta crew for your depth of support. I have to say, the braking is interesting. Last but not least, we are introducing a new version of the equally iconic HST. The VP185 version, which has never before been seen in Train Sim World, we wanted to do this justice, not only with an accurate sound set recorded from the VP185, but also taking into account the differences that enthusiasts appreciate. There are cab layout differences to the previous HST variants. There are performance differences with the VP185 power plant, and we have worked long and hard to make this version of the HST unique. It certainly looks unique. It's very bright. Kind of funny because from my generation of looking at British trains, you think quite dull blues and greens, but then the modern generation is quite bright and colourful and right in your face. If that were not enough, we have added scenarios which I was keen to see added into the mix as a keen rail enthusiast myself. Layering with other route locomotives allows you to drive a Class 45 peak on a rail tour, other specials and even freight services. Let's not also forget the railhead treatment train, to name a few of the specials. In short, we've really brought this route to life. I felt a tingle down my spine at the helm of a peak and at the rake of Mark II coaches pulling out of Derby. You will need to own some other things. So the RHTT train, and you'll need, I suppose it's Transpennine for the other one, isn't it? I think it's Transpennine. I'm not 100% sure on that. Don't hold me to that. Anyway, I want on behalf of myself and the team to thank you for your support and keen interest in Midland Main Line. Your comments and enthusiasm across the Dovetail forums and social media has inspired us. We hope that translates into enjoyment for all of you on each and every mile you drive. And that's signed Jane Whitaker, CTO of Skyhook Games. Now they want to talk about the timetable. It says, thanks Jane, whilst we'll talk more about the timetable at a later date, we wanted to share some top level details with you. The Skyhook team have accurately simulated the 158 and HST playable timetable for this route, equating to 72 playable Class BR 158 services and 59 playable HST services. And if you like variety, there's a lot to be found with content layering into the route. 2 playable Class 45 Rail 2 services, one each way, requiring Northern Transpennine. That's right. 2 playable Class 66 Rail 2 services, one each way, requiring Southeastern High Speed and Northern Transpennine. 5 playable railhead treatment train services, requiring the railhead treatment train. Got the hiccups. 5 ROG Class 37 services, requires the Rail Operations Group BR Class 37/7, and mixes with Northern Transpennine, Southeastern High Speed, and London Commuter. There is 1 freight service featuring the Southeastern High Speeds Class 66. And we see a 66 with a rake of coaches and an HST in the other platform. The HST will appear as AI at St Pancras on the Southeastern High Speed too. So it's also going to be on the Southeastern High Speed route, just as AI trains. I wonder if you can steal them. A process of collaboration. Midland Main Line has been a thoroughly collaborative project. Just as we at Dovetail have sought help from the likes of TSG and our beta community for the BR103 on Link Rhine Tracker, we've been able to get help and support Skyhook in the Midland Main Line. So in practical terms, Skyhook have built the groundwork for the 158 and HST by building the models, artwork and animations, and we've been able to support the implementation of the Armstrong Powerhouse sounds, as well as the physics setup and loco setup. The 158 will also have the same internal destination system, GSM/R, as Birmingham Cross City's BR323, so players can expect a consistent experience. The Class 43 will also have a new AP source dovetail implemented sounds as well. Screenshot of the HST. We're looking forward to seeing it in action in the preview stream planned for later this month. There'll be a 158 and HST walk-around video later this week, and if you keep an eye out on Skyhook socials available at the bottom of their website here, they'll be sharing lots of screenshots and gameplay as the month continues. Peak Forest, Ambergate, Chinley and Buxton. Actually, before we move away from the 158, they could be the basis for the first Australian train too, because there's a thing called the V-Line Sprinter, which was bloody horrible, just like the 158. And it sounds, looks, and acts pretty much the same. Be much of a stretch. But anyway, Peak Forest, Ambergate, Chinley and Buxton. We can see a Jubilee and some coaches sitting in a station here. I'd love to tell you which one it was, but there's no sign. Our second steam route is now deep in development, and it's a very different prospect to Liverpool Crew, set in 1963 in the latter stages of the dieselisation of the British railways. The Peak Forest route will provide a more challenging steam experience, whilst offering incredible scenery into the bargain. There's a little Fowler 060. They waddle like a duck. I really hope they reproduce that. Pulling an ICI wagon, heading into a tunnel. Incorporating banking operation into service mode to navigate steep inclines and a scenario featuring double heading, it aims to bring new dynamics to steam under the breathtaking backdrop of beautiful Derbyshire countryside. Now, if you're not sure what banking is, that's where another locomotive or a couple more locomotives will pop out of a siding and jump onto the back of your train and push you up the hill so that your loco doesn't have to do the job all by itself. That means that normally the train only has the one loco and the one crew for all the flat or intermediate sections, and in the really steep parts there's one or more banking crews that will help you out. Now, banking engines can go on the front, but generally speaking they go on the back, so we'll see how they do that. There's another shot of, I was almost going to say, it is the 8F, isn't it? I'm sure it is. I was trying to think if that is Jubilee Black, but no, it's the 8F, with some freight wagons. You can see the route in action in screenshots, and we'll talk more about the content in the coming weeks, but we wanted to include some answers to questions we know you've been asking. Why terminate at Ambergate? When we look at the extents of any route project, we look at more than just where the trains naturally start and end, consider what we want to focus on and what the key elements of the project are. In this case, the journey from Ambergate to Chinley across the Peak Forest and Wye Valley, as well as really capturing the incredible beauty of this area of the railway line, were our primary goals. We want to provide immersive player experiences, and we felt this was the best option. Hopefully during the preview streams, you'll see what we mean. So here's the Peak Forest map, with Ambergate at the very bottom of the map, and Go Hole sidings up at the very top. And there's a branch line which appears to terminate at Buxton Sheds. But quite a windy route. Looking forward to that. Windy and hills. That's what makes steam fun. I don't know if you're aware, but I actually operate on a steam railway as a fireman in training. And we have windy and very steep hills. I'm approaching the termination of my training. I actually started it back in 2008, but I gave it up back then and more recently decided I'll have another go, and this time round has been going much better. Will there be banking operations? Yes, within scenarios and as part of timetable mode. Now, that's pretty cool that they're doing it in timetable mode. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but it's going to be cool. What will the timetable look like? It is based on the 1963 timetable. There have been some tweaks to make it all work. A lack of sources for the freight timetable at the time has meant we've taken a best guess approach based on photographs we've sourced from the time, but we've kept as close as possible to that timetable. I'm not surprised they couldn't find a freight timetable, because generally speaking, freight doesn't have timetables. They have paths that they select a path to go onto, but there's no guarantee that a train will ever occupy a given path. But anyway, will there be diesel locomotives in the pack? Not with this release. We wanted you to focus on the steam experience with this add-on primarily. Will steam physics be improved? The team are working hard to improve the physics of firing and general operation for this release for the LMS Fowler 4F. That's the little 060 we saw. We also plan to add these improvements to existing routes that use them in the Train Sim World back catalogue, Spirit of Steam, West Cornwall Steam, Local Steam Rail Tour. These might come after release though. There's a shot from the cab of the 4F. Looked quite nice. Looks like a brake gauge, steam pressure gauge, no steam in that one. No water in it either. And the brakes are on at least and the regulator is closed, so that's good. Got another screenshot of some semaphore signals on top of a bridge or viaduct heading into a tunnel. Crossing what may be a river. Looks like a river. The Thameslink BR Class 700/0 Train Sim World 3's worst kept secret is out. The Class 700/0 is coming to Train Sim World. There's a headshot. And it's coming this summer. As you can see from the screenshot above, the skeleton has been built, and the next step is making it operable and working with the Southeastern High Speed timetable. We're way off from talking features, audio and setup at the moment, but when we have more, we will share it with you. There it is, sitting in a platform. If you're looking really closely, you can see the Thameslink service on the PIS board, and right in the distance you can just make out the beginnings of the Class 700/0, which was in the teaser they were talking about in the Loco add-on Poo bundle. There was also a April Fool's Day joke with the 700, which made quite a few people think it was actually coming out today. Well, it's not. And someone in my chat in my stream brought it up, and I went, "Did you read the billboard behind it?" And they went, "No." And I thought, "Well, you should." Anyway, coming up is an Easter Mastery event. Who's ready for an egg sighting treat? Get used to the egg puns. There's going to be lots of them. From tomorrow, Wednesday 5th of April, you can take part in an Easter egg hunt in the training centre as part of the Mastery event for some exceedingly good rewards. And my apologies if you're getting some background noise. For some bizarre reason, there's some vacuuming going on. Complete Tier 1 by completing any tutorial scenario or timetable in the game and activate the Easter egg hunt overlay in the Mastery menu. The same place the Christmas decorations overlay is. If you want to go fully festive, you can have them both live at the same time. And then hop in and get searching. Sounds like fun. I think I'll have to do a stream on that. Find 15 eggs for the giant Easter bunny in the reception area and pick up some Easter-themed decals for using in Livery Designer. There's a special surprise if you collect all 15. Extraordinary. That's a terrible pun. Train Sim World 3 core improvements and content patches. A progress summary on the core improvements the teams have been working on this month. We have everyone's favourite Add-ons Manager, a follow-up on the pathing red lights improvements, and a quick note on upcoming patches. Sorry, I almost said passengers. The Add-ons Manager. We've added the Add-ons Manager functionality to PS4, which means, as well as helping players who had reached a limit on the add-ons access to their full collection, has brought on a reduction of loading time and general performance improvements. Next on our list is Xbox before we bring it to the PC platform afterwards. It's turned up on my PS4, which I don't use terribly much, but I gave it a crack. It seems to work. It loads routes, it loads layered stuff. It seems to work. Spirit of Steam, AI SPAD and physics improvements. The team are aiming for Peak Forest release to bring you improvements to AI SPADs on the Liverpool Crew route, as well as some physics tweaks that we plan to bring on both Liverpool Crew and West Cornwall Local Steam. That'll be good news. The physics is... look, it's tolerable. It's not amazing. The driving physics of using the reverser and the throttle is actually pretty good, I think. But the physics of the fire is a bit... well, it's not there yet. HST Livery Designer compatibility. We are hoping, all being well, to bring this to you with Midland Main Line's release in April. Peninsula Corridor and Oakville Corridor baby bullet services. I was talking about this just the other day. I thought it was dead, but it looks like it's back. We're now bundling these two pieces of content together as they are caused by the same UI issue. Whilst we've not made progress since the last roadmap on this one, it's something the team will be investigating as soon as we're able. Well, maybe it's not so undead. We shall see. Train Sim World 2 Preservation Crew releases. This has been a particularly tricky project to schedule into our calendars, and we apologise for the delay in bringing this to you. We are committed to bringing the improvements to you and are hopeful they'll be released in the next couple of months. For context, this was the largest patch update we've made within Train Sim World when it was released for Train Sim World 3 in September, so requires a lot of space to prepare and put into our builds. Thanks for bearing with us. Personally, if you're still running Train Sim World 2, I have to wonder why. I mean, in the early days, I could see there would be a few reasons why people really wouldn't want to switch, but it's pretty much all been ironed out. The only one that's left that I don't particularly like is the way it looks at midday, but, you know, mornings and afternoons and nighttime, it's magnificent. And the people who say it lurches and stutters more than Train Sim World 2, run them side by side, because, you know, I have and it doesn't. It's about the same. In slightly different places sometimes. There's actually less stuttering in Train Sim World 3 in a lot of contexts, because when you cause a save, such as a collectible in Train Sim World 2, it pauses while it actually does the save. Well, it doesn't do that in Train Sim World 3. So, you know, I actually think it's a lot better. So if you're hanging around on the edges and you've been wondering, grab at one of the sales. There's actually sales on right now, I think. Go for it. Make the leap. Anyway, patches from the past month. Here's a quick summary of the contents of the patches released in the past month that you might have mixed. 7th of March, ScotRail Express Edinburgh Glasgow improvements. They were quite good in my mind. Couple of bits and pieces missing, but for the most part very welcome. Quite good set. 14th of March, further Edinburgh Glasgow improvements, passenger behaviour tweaks, and there's another thread link there. 20th of March, additional passenger behaviour improvements. 29th of March, add-ons manager to PS4 platforms. 4th of April, post-release patch for US content, North East Corridor, New York to Trenton, Amtrak Seller. I previewed these the other day in what turned out to be quite a popular video. Various improvements to Access and ATC. Now, the changes on New York Trenton, I was about to say NYT because that's what everybody internally calls it, were quite extensive. So I've done some runs now. I'm quite happy that the things that catch me out are things that I'm doing wrong, not what the actual game's doing. So looking into the research of the signalling, I actually think it's pretty much there. It's quite good. There's been some tutorial improvements. There's been some OLE improvements. There's still a little bit of work to do with the OLE. There's still a couple of bits that people have noticed missing in Sunnyside. And I think just before Dock Bridge at Newark Penn, there's a section where the overhead actually goes through the bridge rather than under the bridge members. But vastly different. So a lot of the missing stuff is there now, which really improves the immersion. And to be honest, you probably wouldn't have noticed the one at Dock Bridge. Unless you were looking for it, because I told you. Shouldn't have done that. Anyway, there's been some passenger improvements and much more. Yeah, so I previewed the stuff that was going out. There is the TSW3 Easter event, which is going live today, 5th of April. Might be tomorrow for Aussies, but today. Upcoming patches. Other content we've added to the roadmap are post-release improvement patches to Link Rhinestrecker, Loco add-on bundle 2, a new scenario for Railbow, an enhancement on Cahoon Pass timetable for the SD70 ACE. It's got a little C, it should be a big C. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Niddelataban and Bremen Oldenburg. In a third-party developer partner program updates from some of the partner program developers, this month we have an update from Just Trains after their first TSW3 route has been added to the roadmap. The Just Trains team are working hard bringing our first product to Train Sim World. We've completed over 40 miles of track laying and signalling, and the team are now in the process of detailing the world to the level that our customers have come to expect from Just Trains. A fully featured seasonal timetable is in the course of development, and we are looking forward to being able to show people what is being achieved in the coming months. Along with this, an exciting new train will join the Train Sim World lineup as part of our product. TSG are working on a post-release Niddelataban improvements, which will come late in a later patch, as well as performance improvements, the headliner of which is allowing consoles to activate PZB as intended. Oh, that's a bummer if they can't. pop on a keyboard maybe. Inside development, how we pick our routes. It's one of the questions we get asked all the time. How do we select the routes we develop within our games? Well, it's a pretty intricate process, and we've instilled Steve, one of our senior producers and owner of the LAMP process, more on this below to provide the details. Choosing a route is a particularly complex process and generally begins with an outline proposal, either from an internal staff member or an external community source, or beta testers. There's quite a few from us. It is particularly important for us to understand what it is we're trying to achieve, and that anything we proceed with is of value not just to us but to our players too, i.e. it will sell. Understanding where a route fits in with the entire catalogue of content whilst providing value and entertainment for players is critical. When we evaluate a proposal, we look at 4 major areas in what we refer to as the LAMP process: licensing, anticipation, mix and prominence. L, licensing, covers our legal obligations and answers questions such as do we have licenses or agreements in place to ensure we can represent the route appropriately with the trains that are seen on the route in the real world for the time period proposed. Are there any additional licenses we need to bring in to develop the route? This then informs our licensing and contracts team on where they need to focus their resources. A, anticipation, is about how our players perceive the route and the included content. This is probably the most subjective area of the evaluation, as we're essentially evaluating how well players will receive the route in its proposed form. We spend a great deal of time looking at the reviews and comments from similarly based routes that were released previously, as well as any thoughts and concerns raised on proposals that have been submitted by the players. Are players going to find the content boring or just a duplication of a previously released route? And if there is strong support for a route, where is it in the hierarchy? M, mix, looks at the gameplay element in greater detail. Is there enough gameplay? And thanks to the little vacuum cleaner upstairs, who shouldn't have been running anyway because it's too early. Other half, if you're listening. You're not because you hate my streams, but that's okay. Mix looks at the gameplay element in greater detail. Is there enough gameplay provided in the route to keep players occupied and engaged? Does the value of the included content and gameplay align with the intended pricing? Does the gameplay volume align with previously released content? Are there any unique elements in the gameplay that we can leverage to improve the gameplay offering? New industry elements, interactive components that can enhance the experience? What about interactive toilets? Prominence looks at the global commercial appeal of the route. Are the locations represented known globally, or is the route known only to locals? Are there prominent landmarks which are required to properly represent the route? Do the included locos... Now the overgrown budgie cockatoos are getting in on the act. Sorry about the background sounds, folks, if you're hearing them, if they're not filtered out. Are there prominent landmarks that are required to properly represent the route? Do the included locos have appropriate appeal to the players? Is there any prominence to the locos? Are they famous? Routes that have greater global appeal and have strong landmark features with trains that are likely to engage the players are more likely to move forward to approval. Once all the above areas are evaluated, we then use traffic lights to score each segment: red, no-go, yellow, concerns, green, go. Recommendations are then made for any areas marked red or yellow and placed in a 5th section called recommendations or opportunities. Recommendations are those which highlight where the proposal can be modified to improve the overall score. Opportunities are those areas which enable us to push the envelope or raise the bar by adding additional content or including key elements not factored in the proposal, such as yard, which could add switching or shunting opportunities, or a key landmark which will help to improve global appeal. As an example, on reviewing the proposal submitted for the Boston Providence route, it was identified that a key aspect was required to maximise the route's potential in terms of gameplay and prominence. This was, of course, Amtrak's Acela. We highlighted that it is more likely Amtrak's Acela was perhaps known internationally due to tourism in New York, as well as nationally and locally due to its prominence as America's only high-speed train service. This was also cross-compared with proposals submitted by players who also confirmed to us it was a highly demanded train, and we recommended it should be prioritised for development. And now it just goes down into the releases, but these are all the things that we've already talked about, so I won't read them out. It doesn't look like there's anything much that's new. There's a thing about derailing improvements and save game improvements, but that's been there for a while. There's miscellaneous things. It does talk... There's the vacuum cleaner going again. It's starting to charge. It says that a lot. The manual fireman functionality for steam locomotives. I will test the crap out of that when it comes, but I'll probably never use it because I fire in real life, so I'll try and make sure it's as realistic as it can be without you needing a 6-month training course on how to actually do it. Because firing is actually kind of hard, you know that? It's kind of difficult. There's a lot to juggle. Some people would want that to be hyper realistic, but I really think most probably wouldn't. If you think that's not true, pop it down in the comments below. I'd love to have a chat. Projects that are being tackled by the Special Projects team and patches. The additions or changes in the upgrade will include some or all of the following: station departure boards, animated crossings, platform climb-up functionality, improved track rendering, rush hour passenger density and appearance, support for rail driver contact signaler functionality, minor fixes to scenery, minor fixes to audio, minor fixes to gameplay, minor fixes to menu items, livery designer compatibility and scenario planner expansion. Now, I kind of think that most of that stuff's actually done, with the exception of the few new patches that have been announced that we have talked about above, so I won't go through those. There's a bunch of things that are removed from the roadmap. I don't think there's any need to go through those ones. But, you know, tell me what interests you in the roadmap. Tell me what you think you should get to see, and particularly tell me what you think about manual steam firing. Really interested in that one. Could be worth a talking heads panel maybe one day. What an idea. I'll have a think about that. Alrighty, thanks a lot folks, and my apologies for the background noises that popped up partway through that. I'm not sure if they got filtered out or not, but if they came through, sorry about that. And see you later.